Okay. I meant to do a video a little sooner. This is just be kind of like a update. Holiday time is a little busy sometimes, so was just basically trying to find time to put some work in, but I did make some progress. I'll start with Blender. This is just a little update video anyway. I went in and basically remade the character. I wanted the character itself to be one object, to see how that worked out, which I think it worked out a little better. And now the shirt and the shoes, pants are all separate objects, which I'm hoping I can, if I want to add different kinds of shirts or shoes or whatever, I can just grab these, copy them, edit them, and then throw them into the game later if I want. The eyes and mouth I've done a bit differently, and also have like sheets, I guess, image editor. Yeah, so this is a mouth sheet, and I should be able to, when I get to that point, just create all these individual textures and be able to cycle through them in code if I want. If I want him to be talking or whatever, I should be able to just use these different mouth things here and just cycle that in code, which I think I would rather do than try to animate it in here, because I'm not sure how I would decide to use that animation or whatever. Anyway, I know how I would do it in code, so I'll probably just do that. Same for the eyes. I have different eye animations, specifically the blink animation, which maybe I'll do that sometime today. I redid the armature, and this bone that you see sticking out forward from the hand, I can use for things that he's holding in his hand, which was a little more useful than trying, because basically in code now I have a fishing pole. He's holding a fishing pole, and prior I was just parenting it to the hand object, which I don't particularly like doing this anyway, but it works for now, and I don't know how else to do it. Clav R, arm upper. Yeah, so this is why I don't like it, but this is the hand object essentially, which is that bone that you saw, and then this is the fishing rod, which is literally just parented to the object, but it moves around as it should, and it works as it works okay for now. So I'll just do that for now. But having the bone, this hand bone, allowed me to not have to deform the hand and subsequently the arm as much when doing animations. And then I have just placeholder items to know kind of how that should look in the final product. So this was a complete redesign using the same reference sheet, so obviously it looks similar, just done in a little different way, which it's nice to kind of go back and, you know, I'm more proficient with it now. So this took me maybe less than a day to put together, when it took me probably a week or so of on and off fiddling to get the last one. So it's always cool to kind of feel progress and feel yourself getting more proficient with systems. Nothing here is crazy good or anything, but it doesn't look terrible, so that's always something to be happy with. As for the game, I'll play here. Let me do maximize so it's a little better. I added quite a bit of new stuff. I forget exactly where I was in the last time. This is a new run animation, which I don't like, but he's moving, and it looks like he's moving, so whatever. Run left, right. There's an acceleration to the run, and you can't go past. All my states are, this is just reference here. I can toggle on and off. This green zone allows you to fish. If you're not in the green zone and you try to hold the cast button, it will not charge. It'll just finish the cast. If you're in here, you can hold the charge. And it will cast. The real animation is fucked up, but I can fix that. If I turn it not to maximize, you can see better him actually casting the lure, which ChatGPT helped me out with. I basically just asked for a code to do a parabolic motion, and it was basically just to plug and play that in here. So if I charge the cast, you can see the lure gets casted in a parabola, and I can dictate the height. I can mess around with all that stuff over here and get that to where I would like it to be. There's a duration element to it, which I'm able to use for the travel time, as well as different multipliers in different use cases for the cast itself. For example, the camera that I have showing up here, which is just, let me do it again. You'll see a camera, so I change my zoom. The camera comes up and it follows the lure. The camera moves using vector3.lerp, so I'm able to use the duration in an equation. You can also reel it back in, but that's basically all there is. But you can see it does reel back in. It moves towards the player, the 0 y axis. It moves towards that. There's some tweaks I want to make to this because it's, I don't know, this might work as it is, but I don't feel comfortable with how it is currently. The camera display was just a raw image with a render texture. So a render texture on a raw image plane here. Raw image lure display, which is a rendered texture, and then the camera displays target texture to that rendered texture, and then you can get that to show up on the plane, which I just set active and set inactive as needed. That was almost a whole day of fiddling around and getting it to look kind of how I want it to look, and it's pretty close. I'm not unhappy with where it's at. The lure movement, you can see it's choppy. I can use lerp to smooth that out. The problem is if I lerp it right about here, the lerp would have this object here, and I have it stop performing the movement when the duration ends or when it hits the 0 y axis. So right around here, the duration ends on the lerp, and then it just shoots over here because I set the final position, or I set the position of the object to the end position in the what's the code name? It's like simulate parabolic motion, calculate parabolic position. So the code ends, you can see here, while spawn lure is not null and position is greater than 0 y and time elapsed is less than lure travel duration, which is that variable which I'm able to use in different cases here, which is based on the cast time, by the way. So I have a cast bar too that charges, and this is 0 to 100 currently, but obviously I can mess around with that, and if I full cast, it'll go all the way to the end. Right now this is not a lerp motion, it's just set position. Spawn lure transform equals new position. So I can replace this with lerp, but again, as the duration ends and I set the lure to its final position, which I don't know if I'm still doing that here. I'm not. I just took that out. It kind of like snaps, and it doesn't look great. And then I'm also having a weird thing with the camera. The camera, its last position was somewhere around here, the lure camera. And all I'm doing for that is I'm setting the target object when I spawn the lure. So I set the camera target when I spawn the lure in the player controller script, and then the camera follows that with some simple camera move logic. So the camera is lerping. I had look at which, let's turn that back on and see how that looks. I think it doesn't alleviate the choppiness, or it makes it worse. But basically the camera gets set active true when the lure spawns, and then when I despawn it now with just a button press, let's see if this is smoother. No, it's still choppy. So you'll be able to see in this down here, the camera kind of jumps around in a weird way, and if you look up here, the camera was around here, so it kind of like when it's set active again, it's here, and then it like has to get over here, and that motion's weird, and I try to fiddle around with that. I'm going to do some more today, but I don't know why. On enable, on disable, these aren't doing what I want them to. I'm trying to just put the camera close to the object initially, so the lerp isn't so drastic initially, but it's not working. I don't know why. Did I add anything else? I think the cast bar was cool, and I like that. This is my new model, which importing the new model was pretty smooth. I'm getting more used to that, which is nice. This appears cluttered to me, but a couple of my buddies said that I have no idea, so I guess there's more of that to look forward to, being cluttered. Nothing else too interesting, I think. Those were some pretty big updates, and the game, there's an idea here now. You can see the idea, which is always a nice step when things are starting to look like something that you want. You can tell he's got a fishing rod, he's got a cast animation, he does cast a lure, and he can reel that lure in. So it's nice. I like that point in the game where, okay, now there's a base, now there's something here. That feels good. So moving forward, there's a ton of stuff, obviously, but I'm thinking I need to fix the reel animation. I want to catch a fish. That's what I want. I like that point in this game. This is an iteration that I've done before, where I was working just with cubes in a 3D space, and I could catch a fish, which was just a cube, but it's a good feeling to get to that point. So I want to see if I can get that working today, just so I can catch a fish, and then sometimes my nephews come over, and I can have them catch a fish, which will be cool. That's interesting how this is like the bones in Blender, they're all linked. Anyway, that's the update. Nothing too significant. It's a slow process because I'm not good at any of this stuff, and it's just, how do I do this, and then implement and ask ChatGPT and read some Google articles and fiddle around until getting it work, and then try not to mess everything else up in the process. I've now have a couple different scripts here, which has been a headache because maybe it's not the way that it should be done, or maybe I'm just not there yet with proficiency to be able to seamlessly affect things in different scripts. But things are working, and things aren't breaking as I implement new things. So that's a moral victory for me anyway. I organized the code a bit more. I tried to not set things in Inspector as much as I could. I like the idea of that better, than setting things in an expector. Right now, I think it's just the lure prefab set in an expector. Yeah, so most of these were being set in the inspector, but now I just set them in start. I also had this in my master logic script, which is kind of the hacky way to, I don't know where this should go, I'll just put it in master logic and then leave it alone. So I'm trying to keep things out of here if I can. I'm trying to set things in code as opposed to in inspector. I'm sure I could do this, but the lure prefab is not the final prefab that I want to use, obviously. So I'm just leaving that for now. That'll be fine. It's the only thing I'm setting in the inspector. I cleaned up my inspector quite a bit. Not now because, oh yeah, it's still cleaned up. So I had all these variables, serialized field, so it was just this big list of different shit. I reorganized the code so it's displayed in the inspector in a more logical way to me, and then removed the serialized field from a lot of these since I'm no longer setting them in the inspector. So that's a pretty good recap, I think, so far. Progress is progress. It's not fast. It's not, exciting necessarily all of the time, but I'm happy with this so far. Things are not ugly and not too bad. I don't want to. It sucks to let me implement this. Oh, it's working, but I hate everything about it. So a lot of time was spent getting things to a point where I don't hate them, even if it's not where I want them to be. Just good enough to set to the side and move on and do something else. So anyway, that's the brief update there. And hopefully I have some more to show you in the future. Can't wait to catch a fish.